Oh, I thought we had a title card.
No title card?
Gentlemen.
No title card because Tim has it and he doesn't send it to me.
News that we needed 5 minutes ago.
That's why he's Tim the Terrible.
Terrible.
He just screws up everything.
Yep. He's fired. He's fired.
You know what?
Fired.
All he's doing is making more work for himself in post.
That's right. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Codex Station's Comic Character of the Week, where we take one character, do a deep dive on that character, give you some good readings, top covers, badass moments, and who we like for author and artist for this character. So, as always, I am your host, Sal the Sob Guy. With me are my usual partners in crime. Down below me is Dan the Man Kelly. You can always find him on Instagram. Next to him is the Ric Flair of comics. Woo! And they'll come to you live from the Library of Comics. And, of course, right next to me is the man who runs the show. Part-time superhero, full-time snacker, J-Dub. Yep, and we already got Wes in our chat channel. What's up,
Hey,
Wes?
What's up, Wes?
How you doing, buddy? All right, guys, who are we covering tonight? There's a hint down below. It's a time-traveling fool. Not Cable, not Bishop,
it's
Skeets.
Booster
Gold.
It's
No,
Skeets.
Gotta be Skeets. Skeets is the real hero.
Skeets is the real hero. That's right. All my badass moments are around Skeets tonight. Just to give you a little warning. All right, Dan, why don't you go ahead and give us the info?
In there?
What's it?
Let's see.
Yeah. Dan, give us the info on this guy.
All right, so Booster Gold first appeared in Booster Gold #1, February 1986, created by comic legend, I think it's fair to call him that, Dan Jurgens.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Booster Gold's real name is John Michael Carter. He was a star quarterback for Gotham University in the 25th century. His father was a degenerate gambler and convinced him to throw games so he could win gambling. And when it was found out what he did, he was expelled, and he ended up having to take a job as a night security guard at the Metropolis Space Museum. With the help of his robot sidekick, Skeets, who is right there by the figure there with Uncle Gary. He stole a bunch of devices from the from displays at this museum, like the Legion of Superheroes flight ring, Brainiac 5's force field belt, all the stuff that makes a suit. And he used a time sphere to travel back in time to become a superhero. His plan was to use his knowledge of the future to become a hero and to market himself so that he could become rich and famous. He later ended up joining the Justice League and later ended up becoming the secret time protector of the time stream. As far as his powers go himself, he doesn't have any powers. It all comes from the suit. He wears the power suit that grants him super strength, endurance. He can fire energy blasts. He has the force field generator. He has enhanced sensors in the suit through his visor. He has the flight ring. But he is an expert athlete. He's a good hand-to-hand combatant. He is, as an athlete, has good physical condition. But all of his powers derive themselves from the suit.
Awesome. Great intro. All right, so before we dive into get to all the nitty-gritty, let's give a quick shout-out to our sponsor, W Energy. Jamie, why don't you throw that ticker up there so people can see where they can go?
Yep.
And
boom.
There it is. Thank you, sir.
Nice.
Why don't you head on over to WGG. It's W Energy. Head over to WGG. Use the code -X at checkout and save 10%. It's a good, clean energy drink. Let me tell you, folks, all of us here has had it. It's there's no jitters, there's no after crash, there's no horrible taste like all those other energy drinks out there. So go check them out. Go head over to W.GG. Use the code -X and save 10% on that order.
Jamie likes to sprinkle the powder on his potato chips.
He does.
Or snort it. It's the quickest way.
He doesn't care. Either way.
No.
All right, so let's get into our first segment of the night, folks. It is what makes this character work, or how we think this character works best. And Gary, I got you. Why don't you go first with this?
All right. Well, he was an interesting concept where he was he was a dude that was morally challenged, a bit of a screw up, but not a bad guy, just a morally challenged guy. He's going to bet on games, he's going to throw them. Now he's working as a night watchman. Now he's thinking, well, you know what? I can go into the past and I could, if I steal me a flight ring, steal me a Brainiac 5 force field, and get the Legion time bubble, get to the past, and then I could enrich myself by being a hero and being a pitchman on all the ads and things like that. So he's an interesting concept. He was great teaming with Blue Beetle in the Justice League International days and the blah ha 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 days, and one great phrases like "cooey cooey cooey." If you know, you know. And I like that. It was a fun book. It was a fun read. But I like how things changed, and I think a lot of that changed after an encounter with Doomsday, and I think people took him a little more seriously. And then as things have progressed, he finds out he has been relegated to keeping the time stream pure and no corruptions, anomalies, and he becomes a time master. And to do that, he has to subvert how pure his intentions are and how much of a hero he really is, and he has to portray himself as kind of a crass individual that's only interested in his, self, what he can, money and self-aggrandizement and things like that. I really like that iteration of Booster where he's become full circle and become a true hero so much that he's putting his true pure heroic intentions on the back burner and letting people have this notion that he had earned. Now he'd earned it fairly, of being a screw up and a person that was only in it to enrich himself and kind of a hero for hire in a certain way. So that perception is what he needs to do his more secretive work as a time master. And that's quite a sacrifice because he does want to be acknowledged as a true hero, that he's earned that, but he can't have that because it's counter to his mission. So I like that conflicted, that inner conflict where he's got to keep his true good nature hidden and keep the callous or the callow, self out there for public perception.
Very good. All right, Dan, why don't you tell us about your good moments, or what you like best?
I refer you to what he said.
Yep. I gotta say, Gary hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah, I mean, it's along the same lines. I love when he teams up with Blue Beetle. I mean, that's one of the best duos in all of comics.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned. And yeah, it was, when his series first launched, he, if you read the first series, you could see that he's a hero. Like he very much is doing it for personal gain, but he does, he is a hero too. He'll go through and do it. Like you brought up with Doomsday, Doomsday, he stood the line against Doomsday and he got his suit shredded and almost died. And they were like, look, your suit's all this futuristic tech. We can't fix it. Like, you're done. But he refused to give up because he is still a hero and he got that awful big bulky armor. But he could have just been like, whatever. Because at that point he's already rich,
Right.
But he wanted to keep doing it. But yeah, I really liked it when he had that second series when he went to be the like the secret protector of the time stream, and the tagline of it was perfect. It was the greatest hero you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Everybody knew Booster Gold, he's he's a goofball and he's just in it for himself. And I love the Giffen DeMatteis McGuire run. Like, I love that book, but I liked it when it kind of subverted that a bit. And then he had to play up the fact that he had to play up, I'm just this goofball and this, this idiot, so that people wouldn't know what his real role was. Kind of like how Batman is with Bruce Wayne, that, Bruce Wayne is the
good analogy. Yep.
Yeah. The show off, playboy that, doesn't take anything seriously, but really he's Batman. So, and there was a good relationship that, came about with Booster and Batman in those days too. So,
right.
I really enjoyed, enjoyed him in that. And it all kind of started after Maxwell, after Lord killed Blue Beetle. and that was
Yep.
impetus for a lot of his change that came after that.
Batman, Batman being Batman, he saw through the veneer that Booster was playing. He was acting and
Yeah.
Right.
masking his true intentions. And that second series by Jurgens was really, really good when they added all this. And I wonder if the seed for that was planted in one of the Justice League animated cartoons, where there was an episode where he was the hero of the day, and he really saved everything behind the scenes, and nobody knew. So I wonder if Jurgens got a seed that germinated in his head about, what, I can work with this. So
Yeah.
I mean, it may be because we see a lot of stuff where even though these animated shows are based on the comics, like the comics still take a lot of stuff from that X-23 came from the from the animated show. Hell,
Harley
X-Men the animated series had the one episode that Bob Harris took and turned into Age of Apocalypse, which they never gotten if they hadn't done that done this 2-episode story in the animated series.
Well, Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn
also came from the
Firestar, Herbie.
Herbie the robot. All right,
Skeets would kick Herbie's ass.
Oh yeah, he would.
You kick anybody's ass.
I've got 20 on that.
Willie Lumpkin would kick Herbie's ass. Next week we're doing the episode on Willie Lumpkin.
Oh, ear wiggling.
Here we go. Here we go.
I'm not here. But yeah, for me, I mean, these guys basically said it all as far as who he is. But if I had to pick a different route for it that I actually do enjoy, there's only 2 instances I liked Booster Gold on a team, and that's it. And I personally love him more when he is just 1-on-1 with someone. It's a duo. It's either, and I'll get more into this later, but him and Blue Beetle, they're like dancing. There's no better duo than them two. I mean, even him with Harley Quinn in Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah.
That was the only spotlight of that book. The entirety of it.
I was about ready to be so mad when I was reading that book. I was like, you better not do this. Because that whole book led up to, it was making you think Booster was going to be the bad guy. I'm like, you better not. I was like, you better not F up my guy. I was like, I'm a big Booster fan. I was like, I'm reading it like, you better not screw up Booster Gold for me. Like, you already took away Blue Beetle. You better not screw up Booster.
Exactly. But I like him when he can interact with someone other than Skeets. And him with Ted Cord and him with like another duo. Like if any of the Brave and the Bold that he's a part of has been that. And it's always him shining in those moments rather than be depleted and be in the back of the line, whether he should be in the front, for the hero we never knew. You need to know him. Like, he is that good at what he does. So,
and he's been good with Jamie Reyes too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when he's with Blue Beetle, they're like, on the same level. But when he's with Jaime, Jaime's like a younger one, a younger guy that's a third Blue Beetle. Like Booster's almost like the
mentor.
The mentor, but he's almost like the the uncle that's like kind of the bad, that everyone looks at as being the bad influence, but is like really will have some nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, true.
What about you, Sale?
Well, I don't have much to say. I've got one point that I can make that wasn't mentioned, but it kind of relates to what you said, Jamie, about him pairing up with Blue Beetle. I find that relationship the best. That it almost reminds me of Wonder Man and Beast.
Yes, it does.
That combination, and that's where I
because they were Avengers together. Did you know that? The Wonder Man.
No, I did not. I did not.
Beast, and you know where that happened?
Hulk
180. That's where they all first appeared.
Yeah, that's right. Hulk 180, folks. That's where everything appears. So yeah, I like that interaction with Blue Beetle, and I also like the interaction with Skeets. I mean that the banter back and forth between the two is very good, and when it's well written, it is amazing.
Skeets is his Alfred.
Yes.
Yeah, Skeets is his Alfred.
But if you ever see like any of the Batman Beyond stuff or like Batman in the future, there's always Penny One. And it just reminds me of Skeets because it's exactly what it is.
What's up, TJ? Welcome.
What's up,
Hey,
TJ?
TJ, glad to have you.
Oh,
brother.
you're Hulk 180.
Yep.
Hulk
Hulk 180. There we go.
It's funny too,
Show-
because Skeets is like
Show's
so
done,
good.
folks. Hulk 180.
It will never
It's
look.
out there.
Hulk 180 made an appearance on
On the podcast.
180.
on our Grumpy Old Nerd show today.
Oh,
yeah.
It did. It
Yeah.
did tonight. It
Oh,
did.
did it make the podcast too yesterday?
Yeah, it
Nice.
did. It did.
I was going to say
It-
too, what you said with Skeets, it's funny because Skeets is like so disrespectful to him.
I
All the time.
know. I know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I like the. That's why I like the banter between the two.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Skeets talks mad shit. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go on to our 3 favorite or badass moments. So Dan, why don't you go ahead and start first with this?
All right, I'm going to start off with I got 2 of them from the same volume, so I'm going to start off with the one that's not from that, which is Action Comics 998.
That's a good one. Good.
So Booster had kind of, taken Superman back so he could see Krypton, and they, before it exploded, and they messed with the time stream and everything. Shocker, you mess with the time stream, things don't work out. So they end up fixing it, and he tells Superman, saying like, all these people we could have saved, all this. And Booster's like, yeah, but you can't change what's happened. But when they fix it and they come back to the present, Booster found that Lois and her father had been gunned down, and he's like, I can't. He's like, this already happened to Superman. He's like, I can't let this happen again. So he breaks the rules and he goes back in time since it had just happened, and he saves Lois and her father from being gunned down. But he doesn't let Superman know. He's like, so he keeps him in the dark. He does it just because he's like, I can't. He's like, Superman can't have that kind of heartbreak.
Right.
The next one I got is, Gary always likes to have these, have like one of, like you said, like a quieter moment or something. So the second one I'm going to say is from Booster Gold Volume 2, Issue 2. Booster had, when he just started this mission where he was having to protect the time stream, he has to go back in time because someone's trying to mess with it, and they get Sinestro when he's still Green Lantern. And this is before Hal even gets a ring, so there is no Earth Green Lantern. Sinestro is someone tricks him to go to Earth to talk to Guy Gardner, and they're like, look, if he does this, then this is going to happen in the future. Guy's going to end up dying on this other planet, and then he's not going to be around for Blackest Night. He's not going to be around for this other stuff, and Sinestro is going to end up taking over the universe. So Booster goes, and he talks Sinestro. He can't beat him, so he just talks him, and sweet talks him in by heaping a bunch of praise on him, because he figures like, oh, that's this guy has this ego. So he beats him that way and gets him to leave before interacting with Guy Gardner to protect the time stream. But even though the mission is done, then he's like, he sees Guy sitting in this bar drinking by himself for hours, not interacting with anyone, and like looking depressed. And he goes into the bar, and Skeet's like, what are you doing? The mission's done. He's like, I've never seen Guy like this. I have to figure out what it is. And he goes in and starts talking to him, and he finds out that the reason is because Guy Gardner is he's got the call that his father is dying. His father was abusive to him growing up, and he finds out his father's dying and wants to see him one last time. And he's like, F that guy, I'm not going, And Booster tells him the story about his dad and, how, the stuff his dad did to him. And vaguely, because he can't, tell him like, oh, I'm a superhero from the future, because this is before they met. So he's, telling him this stuff and convinces Guy, like, you know what, nobody ever regretted being able to say goodbye, and convinces Guy to like call his dad and then go and spend the last week of his dad's life with him, and and kind of mend fences and stuff. So I thought that was pretty badass, that even though his mission was complete, he's like, there's something that still needs to be done. And it was just sitting there, and it was just a couple pages of them talking like that, and it was just really great stuff.
Dan, I love that. And there is something badass about being a compassionate human being. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, just, and just finding a way to connect with someone else and help them through through a rough time in their life. That was pretty great. And then my final badass moment is really just all of Volume 2. Pretty much the whole mission. The whole mission of it, which I think we all we mentioned in the best scenarios for the character, where he continually saves the timeline. But he has to keep it all secret so that no one can find out what he's doing, and then go back and just like kill him in his crib or something like that. So he keeps everybody thinking that he's this buffoon, so he could keep the secret of it. And like Gary said earlier, that goes antithesis to what his original goal was coming back in time, which was to get famous, make a lot of money, become a star, get the adulation from being a hero. That's goes completely against that. Or like you're gonna be the most important hero in history. You're gonna be more important than Superman. You're gonna be more important than everyone, and nobody is gonna know about it. But you have to do it because someone needs to. And I mean, that's just as I had that as my biggest badass moment.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I agree.
A good one.
I agree.
All right, Gary, why don't you go next?
All right. Well, my badass, we kind of talked about this earlier. I think the thing that turned the tide for Booster, where he got some respect from people, was the aforementioned Superman Superman 74 from 1992.
Yes.
Where Booster, I think Sal, was it you that said he held the line? He held the line against Doomsday. Yeah. And the rest of the league was getting battered around, and he made a stand, and his suit is shredded. And he's still in there, and he took a beating, almost killed him. And at the cost of, the suit, which made him a hero, but he wouldn't back down. And Doomsday was truly fearsome, just fearsome. And I think his teammates saw that Booster was, a hero of substance, of courage, of grit. And so I think that was his moment, his baptism of fire.
Was that the issue where he just barely turned his force suit on just as Doomsday was punching him, or was that like an issue before that stand? I can't remember.
I can't remember that either. I can't remember that.
I think that happened before that.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Because like Doomsday was coming in, and he just turned it on as Doomsday's punch was like right here, and he turns it on, and he gets like knocked into like 3 states over or something like that. So I think draw the line in the sand, which you were talking about, happened after that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think I go with that version of that. And now this happened before this, but when Booster first got first into the Justice League, when they formed this new league coming out of the Legends miniseries, Booster wasn't in the first issue, but issue 4 is when he was accepted into the league. And what opened a lot of eyes was he pretty much took down the Royal Flush Gang by himself, and that was a team.
That's a badass moment.
That was a team that usually the whole JLA would have to fight, and because they all had different powers and they were all ginned up different ways. And Ace was a powerhouse, and at this point Ace was a android, but and he didn't just overpower him; he outsmarted him too. That's the other thing about Booster. Booster isn't dumb, He's with his past, he's a little bit of a screw up, but he's never dumb. Just, kind of takes shortcuts, on some things, and morally questionable things, but never dumb. And so he outsmarts them too. So that was a badass moment to take down the Royal Flush Gang pretty much by himself. And then the last one, man, this is part of the run Dan was talking about. It's sad and it's heartbreaking, but more than anything else, he wanted to be a valued member of the Justice League. And where he was a part of Justice League, the international team, that wasn't the A team. The A team is Superman, Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Those are the big guns, and he was about to be a member of that team, and he was accepted in that team. He was proud. He was beaming, and as he's getting his membership, they have a membership document. He's got like a time vision. He'd get these time flashes, and on it, instead of the document, he sees where Hal Jordan dies as a result of him joining the league, and he gets this vision, and it makes him it makes him realize that he can't join the league like that, and that iteration of the league. And then he tells them, that's okay. I just wanted to be invited to the league. I wanted to be the guy that says no. And he makes himself a clown, a showboat, a stunt, a guy performing a stunt. And it breaks his heart. It breaks your heart as the reader that this is what he's wanted. This is the admiration, the respect of his peers. And then he treats them like it's a, he does this brush off. Look at me. I'm so great. I turned you down. Now, of course, more famously, Metamorpho was the first one to tell him no. That was in the original JLA 42. The cover says Metamorpho says no. But to have Booster turn him down and say, nope, I just want to be the guy that turned down the JLA and big timed him. And then Batman kind of approaches him and sees through. What are you doing? What are you doing, Michael? So, but he had to do that. And for me, that's just heartbreaking. This is what he's wanted, because has he's reformed to come around to where he just doesn't want the money and the fame and to prop up and say, look at me, I'm a hero, to finally get what he really wanted, which was the true respect of these leaguers, that he hadn't been in a team with the big guns. Right. And to be with these guys and to be accepted and to have to turn it down for the greater good, and to turn it down in such a callous acting way, in a way that makes him just lose respect in their eyes. I just thought that was heartbreaking. But ultimately, again, one of these small moments where he was really a badass because he sacrificed what he wanted most for the greater good.
Yep.
So as a side note, good stuff. Who was what I think was the best one to turn the JLA down was when Grant Morrison's run, when they were having all the new characters added, and Hitman was one of the ones that came up on it. And they asked him, he's like, "No, I don't want to join the league. What are you here for?" He's like, "I just wanted to get a look at Wonder Woman with my X-ray vision." He's like, "All right, I'm good." He just turns around and leaves.
Hitman is a great series. If y'all haven't read that, I have them all in trade, and they're getting ready to start a compendium where you can get all of them now. So it's been out of print for a while. Also, Black Lightning turned them down. He said he wasn't going to join the league because they're full of jive turkeys. So that was also on the cover. Jive turkeys.
Wow. You can make a league full of great characters that turn the league down.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Jamie, what do you got for badass moments?
So this one, the first one comes out of Martian Manhunter 24, I believe it is.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's when Booster stops Martian Manhunter's rampage, and but even though he caused it, it was a prank pulled on Martian Manhunter where him and Ted Kord bought all of the cookies, like in every store.
All the Chacos.
Yeah, all the Chacos, and Martian Manhunter just loses it, and Booster Gold's the one that actually comes back and saves it, even though it's all his fault.
They take him to the warehouse where they have all of them stored.
Yeah,
he was addicted to them.
That cover is an amazing cover.
Yes.
Mandrake.
Oh yeah.
That was one of I'm pretty sure that was one of my top covers on the Martian Manhunter.
I think so. Stacks and stacks of chocolates.
Yeah,
chocolate to the moon. My next one is when he severed the Black Lantern ring from Ted Kord.
Yeah.
Using the light gun that Ted Kord used or was going to use to basically destroy it. I thought that was just to see it, and Booster in his mind thinks it's going to kill Ted, but really it actually saved Ted. Lastly, from a book that no one ever talks about, it seems like, and I'm the only one that still has this burning passion, 52 Weeks, when he made the ultimate sacrifice. I'm putting that in quotes for later, and went into the nuclear explosion to save the city and sacrifices himself to do it. But that's a bad moment, but I'll talk about the rest later.
That is a bad moment. That was an awesome moment.
Yeah, it is.
He was one of the main characters of 52.
Yeah, he was. I think that was issue 15.
That was such a fantastic series when it was coming out, because it was coming out every week, and and DC was everything DC was putting out around that time was fantastic, and every week that book came out, that was one of the books I look forward to most every week. Was what's going to happen in this issue?
Yeah,
That's why DC was. I always thought. Look, I am more of a DC guy, of course, but DC to me has always been more story driven.
Yes.
Right.
Deep, intricate stories, and that was a deep, intricate story, and it was well planned out and well plotted before they even set it all in motion. And so, when you can set things up and tell a story like that, you're hitting on all cylinders. And DC was aces at that time. They were just, it was all about the great storytelling.
Yep.
There was like a good 5 year or so run when pretty much Jeff Johns was like kind of overseeing everything, where like I said, like everything they were putting out was fantastic.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, for my 3 badass moments, you guys had taken all 3 of my pointers.
Oh,
actually,
sorry,
each one of you took one of my moments. So, Action Comics 998 breaks the rules to save Lois Lane. To not have Superman to have that heartbreak. Boom. Booster Gold number 27. He uses the light gun that Ted Cord created to sever.
I couldn't remember. I knew it was 24 for Martian Manhunter, but I wanted to say 24 again for Booster, and I was like, "That's not the
Booster Gold number 27." So using the gun that Ted Cord created to, destroy the Black Lantern ring. So, and then Justice League number 4. Where he deactivated. Well, he's fighting the Royal Flush Gang. I'm going to add 1 point to this, which wasn't mentioned. So I got something here. Him and Beetle kind of work together on this one. Beetle deactivates the force field around the headquarters, and then Booster takes Ace up in the air and then drops him or throws him down as Beetle reactivates the dome and cuts him in half.
Nice.
And Batman was impressed and offers the membership to Beetle. To Booster. During that thing. So to get to impress Batman with something like that's a pretty badass moment. So that was Justice League number 4.
I agree.
There's another one that no one mentioned I wanted to throw out too. It was from issue 5 of his second series, where Rip tells him that he's got to go back and he's got to save Barbara Gordon from getting shot by the Joker.
Oh, that's heartbreaking too.
Yeah, and he goes back. He can't save her. He actually ends up getting captured by Joker and his gang, and ends up showing up to when Joker shoots her, literally right afterwards. He's too late to save her, and he gets messed up. Goes back into the time base. He's like, "You got to send me back," and and he wakes up out of this coma. He's like, "You got to send me back." So he sends him back, even though he's all still beat up. Can't do it again, gets beat up again, goes back, and Rip tells him, he's like, "Look, I just am doing this as a lesson because that's a fixed point in time. There's nothing that could change that. Joker is always going to shoot and paralyze her. She is always destined to become the hero that's Oracle, as a way to show him, I know you want to go back and save Ted Cord, but that's another fixed point. You can't do it." But he refuses to give up. He's like, "No, I can't." And he doesn't call her Batgirl. He calls her Barbara. He's like, "I can't." He's like, "I can't let that happen to Barbara." And then it just shows him continually going back, getting messed up more by the Joker, getting shot, getting beaten over and over and over again because, until eventually Rip is like, "Look, I'm not sending you back anymore. It's done." There's nothing you can do. But the fact that he's just going back over and over again because he's just refusing to give up on it.
Right. What was that issue again?
That was issue 5 from the
volume 2
of the series. I might.
Yep.
No, I don't have that one.
I wanted to make a mental note of that because I want to go ahead and read that as well.
It's got a cool cover. The cover of it's kind of like a play on the cover of a Killing Joke with Joker with the camera.
There's a great Straczynski story in the volume 2, I guess it was. Well, I don't know if it was volume 2, but there was a Brave and the Bold series that Perez was doing the art on.
Yeah, that one.
Straczynski was writing at one point, and there was I can't remember the exact specifics, but I think it was Wonder Woman, and another female hero, and they had knowledge of what was going to happen to Barbara the next day, and they took her out the night before. And there was a thing where they knew they couldn't change time, and they had this bittersweet night out with her, and they all had a great time. And it was just, I don't think they revealed till the end what exactly was going on. And then in the end, you realized that it was the night before that she was to get shot by the Joker. But that was a really powerful story by Straczynski.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on to our next segment is criticisms or stuff that we don't like about this character. And Jamie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with that?
So with Booster, I always like the comedic side of characters. I always like the goofballs, the class clowns, we would say. But I feel like they overpush it on him way, way too much when realistically he is probably one of the best at what he does. Like you brought it up earlier on, Gary, like where he literally sits there and like, I just came just to say no. Like, yeah, but the play behind that is completely different. The perspective of the team is looking at him like, why are you wasting our time? Like, stop trying to be this joke and just go then. But realistically, he's actually being the hero that you didn't know you needed. The only time that it works is like I said, his solo duos. Like it to me, a character like this should have that side where he shines, and there is a couple instances of it, but not as much as they play him off as this comedic scapegoat, I would say.
Yeah.
And they just do it too often. I mean, having Skeets there kind of puts that blend together, but when he doesn't have Skeets, it's just like through the roof and too much. It's like trying to have a Deadpool-esque character, but not be as good as Deadpool.
Okay. I'll go next because I kind of agree with that. I think they overdid the comedic side. I mean, I understand it and I like it, but I think they overdid it in portions. And maybe after he got that turning point to become, when he becomes into the time stream, then it kind of balanced out, I think, because he was trying to be the hero behind the scenes, and he had to play it off in real life type situation. So, in the beginning, I think they overdid it too much, but I think they've kind of tempered it now to a point where it's pretty equal and well done. Yeah. So that's how I feel about that.
I like Dan's Bruce Wayne Batman analogy of that. Where at times he has to play like Bruce Wayne, Batman has to use him to play off his true intentions. So I really like that analogy. I like you guys. I think that sometimes the comedic stuff is overdone, but it's still funny. I like it less when he's made out to be so greedy. With all about the buck, all about the endorsements and all that. That to me, I find more unsavory than fame and appeal is when it's about the money. That aspect of it.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, like I said, I agree. If you read his series when it first started, when he's first introduced, it's not that he's a totally unlikable guy, but he's not real likable either. Yeah. Like, it took time for him to really, become a really likable character. But the thing that that bothers me the most about him is just kind of how they've eliminated his character growth that he had. He was the buffoon, but he could still get the job done. But he was, the funny stuff, the comedic stuff, which is good. And, but then, after Blue Beetle died, he got more serious and he would still joke around and stuff. But, he took on a much more serious tone. And then especially in his second volume when it was, the protector of the time stream, he was still kind of goofy at times and still joke around, but he'd grown a lot as a character. And, and then now recently, and he'd gotten the respect of some characters and, done a lot. And then, recently it was, that it's just kind of been dialed back from that to being not quite as bad as he was when he was first introduced, but closer to that than the character that he's been for the past decade or so. And so I don't like that they just kind of they just kind of moved his character growth back. And then the stuff that Tom King did with him, where he made him this, kind of like crazy and, and a little bit unhinged. Like, I really didn't like that part of it at all.
Fair enough.
What, from Heroes?
Yeah, it was before Heroes in Crisis, it was a short arc in Batman where
yeah, now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, where he kind of
it was called The Gift.
Yeah, where he was like, I'll show you, your life, your life if your parents didn't die, then he kind of went Looney Tunes, and then that went into Heroes in Crisis. Like, I didn't like that at all.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Good points there. All right. On to our next segment, which is top covers. So we each pick 3 covers that we think represents this character the best. And who hasn't gone first?
Uncle Gary.
I think everybody. Uncle Gary. You
Okay.
go first. Show us your covers.
All right. Here we go. So
nice one.
Yeah, on the
good.
far left there, that's let's start in the middle. That's a happier cover. So in the middle, blue and gold one, like we said, this is the DC equivalent of Wonder Man and the Beast. It's just fantastic friendship. Alien invaders repelled, Justice League saved. We're about to get our own book. Yeah, about time we got our own book. So that's the friendship. That's what you want to see. And blue and gold, a good buddy of mine, Chris Schwartzlander, loves Beetle and Booster, and he just it just gravitates to them. He gravitates to them so much, and that's just a wonderful cover. That was by Ryan Sook that did that cover. On the far left is volume 2 of Booster, and it's Booster Gold 39. Chris Batista and Rick Perota did that cover, and then that's just that's taking that friendship that we see in the middle, and that's seeing the tragic aspect of it when he's at Ted's gravestone. And I think that's somber, and that's that's a version of Booster that not the rest of the world and the other heroes don't ever get to see. A very serious, a very somber Booster, and I love he's in the cemetery, and I love the the image of Booster and Beetle, which is pretty much reminiscent of what's in the center there. That's how they always were. Got one of them's got the arm around the other, and they're both smiling and cheesing, and it's just fantastic. And then the one on the far right just makes me laugh every time I see it. Booster Gold number 3, volume 2, Dan Jurgens, Norm Rapunt, and it's it's like, I love you, man. Shut up. And then fight going on in the background, and look, Skeets even looks twisted. Skeets is upside down. So I don't know what kind of lubricant they gave Skeets, but he looks like he's a couple sheets to the wind too. So, but I just and Booster's got that besotted smile on his face, and just again, Hex, shut up. I just love that cover. So those are mine.
That's awesome. All right, Dan, let's see yours.
All right, so I'll start on the end. I got from this first series, Booster Gold number 25. I think this is actually the last issue of it. I just love that that pose that that kind of like muscle man competition kind of pose there, and that smile on his face where you're saying like, oh yeah, look at me, look how badass I am. Like, that's very indicative of who the character was at that time.
Logo with the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which that was a great logo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then the middle one, Booster Gold number 32 from his second series, where he's just giving you the wink and the smile and says, "Trust me, I'm a superhero." When Giffen and DeMatteis, took over writing that book, and they wrote it for a while. That's another one. It's just it's almost like that used car salesman kind of look that you would get, which was a lot of kind of a lot of what goes into the character, that attitude. But it's a fun cover, and and that one really stood out to me. And then the one on the end, the formerly known as Justice League number 6, where he's standing on top, like triumphant, like that was easy, and then Blue Beetle's behind him, like thinking kind of like, when the robots are coming, and,
back, yeah,
because I mean, like I talked about before, Booster and Beetle are great when they work together, so I had to have one cover where the two of them are in, and it was tough. It was between that one and one that I have on my rack behind me here, Booster Gold #7. But I ultimately ended up going with that one because I love that series, and I thought that cover was pretty funny.
Yep, I dig it. It is funny, and the covers are amusing. That's what you love, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. All right, Jamie, let's see yours.
All right. So I got 52 week 15 for my first one. Is the Booster Gold Memorial issue. And I still don't know why, but I am tied to this series so much. I think it's because it's probably one of the first few series I actually started picking up on a regular basis. But just having his goggles there bloodied, laying on the ground, there was nothing better at the time to be a Booster Gold fan than end this issue.
Wonderful.
That was a fantastic series.
Is that Supernova in the reflection?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll be talking about him later too.
Yeah.
But next up, I have from the John's run, Booster Gold issue 0, and it's got all him lunging forward with all the Blue Beetle masks and Scarab in the middle, and it just looks badass to me.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Same thing with Booster Gold #1 52 pickup, having like him with Skeets just flying again, but it's got all the pictures of the Justice League members in the background from Justice League International, and all the teams like represented there. To me, it just him not being a member at one point to this cover just kind of like clicks.
Yeah, I love it.
That's nice. That's good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and show mine then. All right, I will start with the far left one. That's Booster Gold #16. This is the penciler Dan Jurgens and inker is Bob Lewis.
That's a cool
on this one, but I love the negative space aspect of it because a lot of my books I have slabbed are the negative space ones. And
Boys and girls, wicked. Negative space covers go way back. They're not the
they do.
Thing. Yes, they do.
I was about to say, where's that one on the wall?
Well, I'll if I can find it, I'll probably do it. Don't
All right,
worry.
Sal, now you have to find out what the first negative space cover was.
I'm too lazy to do that, Dan. Why don't you find that out for me?
They'll message us later. I found it.
I found it.
Oh, I know. Hulk 180.
Yeah.
The very first.
We got a question from TJ. Shoot that first before I go on my covers. Good one.
Have you done a character of the week of Jonah Hex? Always like an interested character to me now. That might be a good one for the next one.
That might be a good one for next one. I think he is in the he's in the
rotation.
Yeah, the lineup, you might say. He's in
the new 52 Jonah Hex books were really good. And there's I would go with some trade paperbacks. They have different arcs, and you can get some really good Jonah Hex stories in that, TJ. So there are some fine. If you like westerns, Jonah Hex is a really great character.
Yeah. The series that Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray did was really good.
Yes, it was, and there was some Darwin Cook work in there too that was phenomenal.
Why don't we go and say that Jonah Hex will probably be next week's then?
Is that who you're picking?
Well, I'm not on next week, so I mean,
we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out, TJ, and we'll let you know.
TJ, stay tuned. Jonah Hex will be in the rotation
maybe sooner than later.
Sooner than later. Yep.
Sooner than later. Okay. All right. So my next one there is Killing Time from Justice League Quarterly #10. And this one was looks like, I think it was Mark Waid that did this writing, I think. And there was a bunch of artists with this one. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I do like this aspect on it. They got the computer background, like going execute. You can see that like a line of code just going through there. He's looking pretty badass there with the with the energy coming off the fists and everything like that. So I one of the covers I really liked with that. And lastly is Extreme Justice number 6. Let's see. This one was Mark Campos and Kevin Branch did the inking for this. Let me see if there was a cover artist. Yes, it was Mark Campos that did the cover for this. So yeah, this is just a badass cover. He's got the mean face. He's give me back my life, like give me back my son, that type of thing, So it was just a badass cover to me. It stuck. It just popped right out for me when I was going through covers. So
that's an angry man.
That's an angry man right there.
Yeah, that's when he had that big, bulky armor after Doomsday tore him up. And because the Justice League, as it was after Doomsday, it was a completely different team after that. And then they went and, and members of the league, that was, and some others went and formed Extreme Justice, which was it's all in the title. That was as 90s can get.
Yeah, it was. But it's still a badass cover.
Mm-hmm. It is.
All right. Yep. So that wraps up the top cover segment. But
all 12 covers were different, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
No repeats.
All of us, except for Sal, had at least, had a cover that had Blue Beetle in it too. Sal was the only one that didn't.
That's true. I did not.
Well, I had 2, so that makes up for it.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our next sponsor. Jamie, why don't you go ahead and take that away for us?
Yes, if you guys like the covers that you've seen there today, definitely go check out Nirvana Comics at nirvanacomicsknoxville.com. They have a comic for everyone, and they want to make sure that you get yours too. And if you guys are in the Knoxville, Tennessee area, definitely go check them out as well. They are Tim's exclusive comic shop, and he loves them dearly. Trust me, everybody from the staff to, what they do on the back end, he loves it. And
what they do in the back.
That's how you
hey,
get them
hello.
so cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, man.
Talk about getting some variant covers, baby.
Talk about gaping holes. Is all I'm
there
saying.
you go.
You always have to throw one in, don't you?
Always.
Yeah, you always got to throw one in your gaping hole.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Just one. Just one, though.
All right, moving on. What's that?
In case you guys are wondering, I have been looking up the earliest instance of a negative space on a comic cover is Little Dot number 11 from 1955. That's the earliest one so far that I can find.
Okay.
And you know what that was? That was a little dot right in the middle of a big dot.
Uncle Gary probably has that book.
Actually, I don't. But I have goals.
Stop lying. You have that book. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's get into now our essential readings. And Jamie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off first with your essential readings?
Of course. Obviously,
Booster.
my number one is 52.
What? Get out of here.
Now, it's been a while since I read it, but I love the fact that he is front and center of the story. In it, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, all gone. And just the way they portray Booster Gold in this series is amazing. His so my quote unquote sacrifice, come to find out it really wasn't a sacrifice after all. And this is what I was going to ask earlier. Wasn't it him portraying Supernova at one point?
Yes.
I'm not mistaken. Yes. Okay. Because I was rattling my mind earlier. I'm trying to go back and find it, but I didn't have enough time to do it. But he does portray another superhero in the act of being gone, and everyone thinks that it's Superman, but really it's Booster.
And the fact that the suit that he's wearing is tied to only someone from his family, from his with like his genetics being able to wear it, is something that comes into play later on in his own series.
Yes. Next up, the one that everyone hates, but I want to say this is a great representation of Booster Gold, is in Heroes in Crisis. I think some of the scenes in there, when I talk about duos, him and Harley Quinn play off each other so well in the series. That's the only spotlight I will give that series for Booster. And also the interview process where he's sitting there talking about losing his friend, his brother, to a cord, and it's it's just emotional. Lastly, Blue and Gold. The duo is back. I believe that was 8 issues, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But throughout, it just felt like the good times. And trust me, if you want to start with one, I would probably pick Blue and Gold right now.
Okay.
Good choices.
Good choices indeed. All right, Gary, let's see yours.
All right. Let's see what I got to clean up.
The last one is the one you got to clean up.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so the first one, Justice League Generation Lost, trade paperback, volume 1 and 2. That was by Judd Winnick, Aaron Lopresti, Fernando Dagano, and Joe Bennett. And that was just, that's just Booster in with his league. And it was just a great story of a Justice League story with Booster at his best. So Justice League Generation Lost, by the guys that by McGuire and Giffen and these, going further on the league that Giffen had created and McGuire. The second is Time Master's Vanishing Point. I really love how where he became a Time Master and Vanishing Point, interacted, it was basically they were trying to find Batman who was lost in time. And I love the interaction between Booster and Rip Hunter. And Rip Hunter is a very old DC character from the early 60s. So that had been around. And I love how Rip Hunter was given new life by tying him with Booster. And they have quite a connection there. I don't know that I want to give it away, but there's a great connection between Rip Hunter and great difference in the attitudes. I mean, Rip Hunter is he's pretty badass and he's kind of hardcore, and he's got to rein Michael in a little bit. And when you find their dynamic, it's kind of funny, how one is so serious and Booster is not, but he's getting there. But I really like that series a lot. And then the last I had was Booster Gold, Volume 2. It was the first trade, the first arc, which was 52 pickup, and it was by Jeff Johns, Jeff Katz, and Dan Jurgens, and that's where he turned down the JLA membership, and in such a crass way. And this was where again he's on his way to being a Time Master, and it's just I think that Batgirl issue we had talked about is in that first volume too.
Yeah.
And so it's just very, it's entertaining, but it's very poignant, and it's really helping mold this character into a hero of character. And I really enjoyed those volumes quite a bit. And it was hard to leave out the original JLA and the 2 Cooey issues, but those are my picks.
All right. Well, real fast before we switch, we have some comments.
Yeah, throw them up there.
First up, Wes, stand down, Uncle Gary. This is an After Dark. Next
stand down, Uncle Gary.
Comes from Keith Gatchell. Hopefully I'm saying your last name right. Sorry if I mispronounced it. It's funny when a character from the future knows all upcoming events. If you dropped me 100 years ago, I'll be able to tell folks that sell your stocks in 2.5 years, I guess, and phones will be magic. And then TJ came along with or by Apple and Microsoft.
I'd be betting on sports events.
Yeah, I would be too.
I'd be buying Bitcoin the moment they dropped.
Well, you couldn't even buy Bitcoin when it first came out, right? Didn't you have to mine it for free or something?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Let's see yours.
All right. So
there we go.
There we go. All right. So, like Uncle Gary, I have Justice League Generation Lost. It was a 24-issue series. It was fantastic. This is more, very much more on the serious side with Booster. So this takes place after Max has killed Blue Beetle and and all the crossover they went through, and after Wonder Woman has killed Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
And as this series starts, Max is back alive, and nobody really knows quite how, but they know how dangerous he can be. So like all the heroes everywhere are like going on the news and saying like, be on the lookout for this guy. This guy is like the most dangerous person on the planet, and everyone's looking for him. And the one guy that finds him is Booster. And what happens is, and this isn't really given too much away because this all happens in the first issue, in like first issue or two, is Max uses his mind control powers, and he hooks himself up into this machine so that he can broadcast his mind control powers across the entire globe. And he beaten Booster pretty bad, and when the other heroes arrive of the league that he was in, they find him and there's this big pool of blood, and they're like, oh, it's you. And he's like, it's not my blood. Because whenever Max uses his powers, it makes his nose bleed, and he used them to such an extent that it was this huge pool of blood. And one of the Superman shows up, and they say something to him about Maxwell Lord, and he goes, who's that? Maxwell Lord had used his powers to make the entire world forget that he exists, and the only ones that remember him were these members of the Justice League that when he was a part of it, was like Booster Gold and Fire and Rocket Red. They ended up bringing the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle into it, like this this group. And Booster's got this vendetta against him because he killed Ted Cord. So the whole series is really them going out and having to hunt down Maxwell Lord and find him and stop him for whatever his plan is, because nobody else in the world even remembers that he exists.
That's good.
Good stuff.
Blue and Gold. It just came out. The last issue came out like 6 or 7 months ago or something. It's very recent. It's the 8-issue miniseries teaming up, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold again. It's not quite as funny as the Giffen and DeMatteis stuff was, but but it is funny. It's somewhat lighthearted. It's a good read. It's the two of them teaming up at their best. It's one of those things you look at with DC and you're like, why did it take you so long with the relationship these two characters have? Why did it take you so long to like actually put them together in a book, like that? And yeah, it's a fantastic read. It's a lot of fun. It calls back a lot to older stuff too, to their Justice League time, to Booster's first series when he had like set up this corporation, and then the last one I have is Booster Gold Volume 2. I just recommending the whole series.
Just read
the
it
whole
all.
thing.
Yeah, well, it was 47. Well, it was 49 issues because it was 1 through 47. Plus, there was a 0 issue and there was a 1 million issue from when DC did that 1 million thing, and it's great. What'd you say?
I hated that.
There were a couple good ones in it. We got a new Hour Man out of it that was pretty cool.
True.
Yeah.
I meant to like just the numbering fact.
Yeah, because they'll never get up to 1 million the way they stop and renumber stuff.
Yeah.
But it's where he took on the role of being the Time Master that has to protect the time stream, and nobody can knows what he does. It's pretty much, if you watch that the show Legends of Tomorrow, they pretty much took the idea of TJ would go back and back.
Yeah.
Legends of
TJ.
Tomorrow pretty much just took the concept from this book and did a TV show, though strangely without Booster Gold, and not very good. But even though it was more serious, it does still have its lighthearted moments, and there's a lot of great team ups that you see, a lot of great guest stars from different parts of DC's history too, because he travels back and forth from the past, the present, the future, and and it's just it's a great book. It was it ended with issue 47 with Flashpoint when DC reset for New 52, but up to that point it was one of the best books they were putting out at the time. And it's great too because it's got so many Easter eggs, especially in the beginning of the book, in the back of it, where you see like Rip Hunter's base that they operate out of, where you see these chalkboards and whiteboards and all these little clues that were written on them, where it's one of those ones, it's a lot of fun to sit there at the time, to sit there and read these things and try and figure out what they meant, because it was all for stuff that, that was, that DC was going to be doing in the near future. So it was fun to try and figure it out. And then, going back now and reading it, it's fun to see it be like, oh yeah, that was a reference to this, and that was a reference to this, and oh yeah, that was for this storyline that happened 2 years later, and just a lot of cool background stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Very good stuff.
All right, I guess we can move on to my recommended readings. And yeah, TJ, I would definitely go back in time and buy Hulk 180s. I'd also probably go back in time and buy The Kid That Sold Venom to Todd McFarlane for like $400, and then I would turn around and sell it to Todd McFarlane for much more than that. Anyhow, so let's start with that top one there, Justice League number 4 from 1987. This is what's called Winning Hand. This is where he fights the Royal Flush Gang. I'm going to go a little bit more specific in issues instead of just saying, oh, just read all of volume, whatever. I can't do that. So this was written by Keith Griffin and J.M. DeMatteis. And so this book was really good. I think this is like his introduction to the Justice League. It's probably the best place for a new reader to meet him and, see what he's all about. I think that's, it's showcasing his powers, his fighting spirit, his quick mind, and his dedication to the team, So that's why I like that one. Next up is Action Comics 995, but you could probably stretch that to 998. But this is the epic, not want to say epic, but this is the storyline with Superman where he eventually goes back in time to save Lois. And this is definitely one to check out. It's the best, I want to say it's probably one of the best Booster Gold stories of the New 52 or the Rebirth era time frame for that. And then lastly, I've got Booster Gold number 18. And this was an interesting story because there's two sides to every story. And the flip side of the flip side of the Booster Gold story is there's a federal agent who's also traveling back in time to stop him and determined to make Booster pay for his crimes, but then realizes during the story time that he's actually being a hero, and this hunter now has become conflicted, or this cop has become conflicted because he wants to bring Booster Gold to justice, but he sees the good that he's doing now, and that's kind of like leads to a good storyline with that. So Booster Gold number 18 from 1987.
Very good.
All right, so moving on here, we could go on to our. What's that?
Real quick, if we can. Like I said, there was one more I was conflicted about putting in, and nobody mentioned it, so I gotta throw this in. And I didn't think that anybody would pick Justice League Generation Lost. So if I would, that's a cool.
There you go.
Figure.
Supernova, baby.
It's sad they didn't do anything more with that. That's such a cool design.
It is.
If I would have known that Gary was going to pick Generation Lost, then I would have put this in my reading. Like I think we've all mentioned the Justice League / Justice League International / Justice League America, the Giffen DeMatteis, Kevin Maguire run was fantastic, but it was a long run. So even though I just recommended a 49 issue run, I wasn't going to recommend all of that. But if you want a good shorter version of it, they later on got together and did this series called formerly known as the Justice League.
Yes.
And it is absolutely fantastic. It's the classic, brought that classic run back. It was only 6 issues. And then they did a follow-up in a Justice League anthology book called I Can't Believe It's Not the Justice League.
Yeah.
Also like 5 or 6 parts. And it's all the great stuff from it's all the great stuff from from their original run, but you can just read it in this one story. And it's funny too because it throws Mary Marvel in the mix, and her interactions with all of them and stuff, especially some of the stuff where she finds out that like when they meet up that Captain Atom is nuclear powered and she doesn't want to go anywhere near him because she was like, oh well, your radiation, I want to have kids one day.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna stand anywhere near you. And he's like, and he keeps going like, that's not how my powers work.
I forgot how much a good part Ralph and Sue were of that team too.
Yes.
Sue was like the den mother.
And it's funny because when Max goes to put this team, put them back together to be this kind of like, where he goes, if you need the police, you could call the police. If you need the fire department, you could call them. I was like, but if you need the Justice League, you can't call the Justice League. So we're going to set up something with that. And he's like, recruiting all the characters and bringing them back. And like when he finds Fire, she's like running basically her own like OnlyFans type website. But all the pictures of her are where she's on fire. And she's like, yeah, all the people that pay for this think I'm naked, but I'm not because I'm on fire. But they think it. So
that's pretty funny.
She's ahead of her time.
And Sal, that one issue with Batgirl, this was the one, number 5.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
Where it's kind of the play on the Killing Joke cover.
Booster Gold number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check that out because I want to read that one. I want to check that one out. All right. So on to our last segment of the night. This is going to be our best author and best artist. Now, these two guys don't have necessarily have worked on the same book at the same time, but they probably represent the character best in their respective fields. So I will go first on this one, and I actually went with best artist as Dan Jurgens and writer as Mark Waid. Even though Keith Giffen and J.D. Manis were probably good running in there, and Kevin McGuire was also running in there, I ultimately went with Dan Jurgens and Mark Waid.
Good choices.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I like Dan Jurgens stuff. He's done a lot of good stuff. I even got a couple of his books, signed here too. So I do like his work. So, all right, Dan, what do you got?
Yeah, I also got Jurgens as the artist. I mean, Jurgens is the one that created him.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably drawn him more than anybody else has. Maybe Kevin McGuire is second, but yeah, I got to go with him. For writer, I was close to going with Dan Jurgens because again, he created him. He wrote like his entire first volume. He wrote the Blue and Gold miniseries. He wrote not all of his second volume, but he wrote some of it. But since I wanted to have a little change, I went with Jeff Johns and Jeff Katz as writers because they were the ones that were the writers when the volume 2 run, when this run started, and they wrote it for a while after it first started, and that was the series that put him on the path of being a more serious character and being the greatest hero you never heard of. So I went with them for that, even though like Giffen and DeMatteis were great and Dan Jurgens is great on him too. Like, I love that second volume of Booster Gold, and they're the ones that started it.
Yeah, very cool. Totally agree. How about you, Uncle Gary? What you got?
All right. Well, first of all, I sent you a picture of Brave and the Bold, Volume 3, number 33. It was Wonder Woman, Zatanna, and Batgirl. And that is, if that whole Barbara Gordon thing you like, that is just a really heartbreaking and wonderful book.
I'll read that too.
Deals with that. I already gave away the ending of it, unfortunately, to you. Because I think that was supposed to be a surprise, but it was really, really good book. Straczynski, can't say enough about him. So the writer and artist I have for Booster Gold, these two guys actually worked together on the book. So I think it's good that this team is together. The writer was Dan Jurgens, and the artist was Dan Jurgens. So I'm pretty sure they worked on this together at the same time.
They were close.
Yeah. So again, Dan Jurgens is a creator.
Yeah. And
that's his baby, and I'm going to give him the props for bringing that baby into the world and crafting some wonderful stories with that. And I think his art is perfectly suited for Booster. So those are my two. I don't know that I picked the same writer, same artist for one of these yet. So
no, you haven't actually.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody has. Say the truth, have we?
Yeah,
that's the first time.
This is my second time picking Jurgens as best artist because I'm pretty sure I picked him for best Superman artist.
Oh, well,
that's the book I got with him. A Superman book signed by him. It's nice. All right, Jamie, how about you?
I gotta go with a repeating factor, but I'm gonna take Jurgens as my artist and Johns as my writer.
Okay, very good. Good choices. All right, that I believe wraps up this comic character of the week. Any last minute points? Anything we want to shout out? Nothing. We covered it all.
As far as the costume, what do you guys prefer? collar or no collar?
Collar.
Really? I prefer it without the collar.
Gotta have the collar.
And don't forget, when he first appeared, he had a cape too.
He did have a cape.
He would wear a cape, and then whenever he would go into fight, he would take the cape off.
Yeah.
You know, like he was a
capes.
wrestler.
No capes. No
Well, he got his cape back with Supernova. He got his cape action back.
Yep,
Oh,
that's true.
Like I said, it's too bad they're not doing anything with that, because you look at that figure, everyone. If you haven't seen him in the comics, that is such an awesome design.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Since next week it's just going to be us three, Gary, Dan, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do Jonah Hex? Let's just call it right now.
Okay, we can do Jonah Hex.
We'll do it.
I was going to say, I think next week for character of the week we should do Hulk 180.
There's so much that spawns out of that.
Or Cyclops, we can do Cyclops every week for the next. Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be Uncle Gary and Dan next week.
Damn it! I got fired again. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and do Jonah Hex for next week.
Okay, we all see if we have a fourth. Does anybody want to jump in with us?
Yeah, you want to see if Sonny wants to jump in?
Yeah,
Sonny or Wes?
Yeah, I was going to say if Sonny or Wes wants to.
If any of them are Jonah Hex fans,
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I got something in the works for the 15th, but I'll let you guys know afterwards.
All right, so Jonah Hex it is. All right, once again, folks, this is Codex Station Comic Character of the Week. I am your host, Sal, the Slab Guy. When I'm not, thank you, TJ.
Thank you, TJ.
Stitching around the whole thing, buddy. Yep. Don't mess up the rotation. He's patient. No. We're doing it. We're doing it because of you. You requested it. It's coming on. All right. So
that's what we do here. We are here for the
We listen to our friends, fans, and audience.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks. When I'm not here on the Codex Station, you can always find me on YouTube under Sal's Comic Corner and under Instagram as the Slab Guy 77. Down below is Dan the Man Kelly. Give a quick shout out to where they can find you, buddy.
Yep, you can find me on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. Post there a few times a week. Currently, I am running a Kickstarter for Kickstarter's Make 100 initiative. So I'm doing it for original art. You can get sketch cards, pencil drawings on comic backboards, full pencil and ink drawings on Bristol board, or sketch covers that I'll draw and get graded by CGC with a nice yellow label. So you can go check out my Kickstarter that's running right now through the end of February and pick something on there. And the link to it is in my bio on my Instagram page.
Awesome,
or you could just also go on Kickstarter and you can just type in Dan Kelly and it'll
come up. All right. And right next to you is the Ric Flair Comics, coming to you from the Library of Comics. The man has every single comic ever printed. Uncle Gary, where can they find you out really quick?
Well, I have almost. I just don't have that damn little dot. I'll have to work on it. You can see me at Comic Logic. I'm proud co-owner of Loudoun County, Virginia's only comic book store. Please come in and see us. We would love to have you. We do have a Facebook page for Comic Logic, and you can see we have some big events coming up. The biggest I want to spotlight is on May the 4th on Star Wars Day, on Free Comic Book Day. We'll have Brandon Wayne, who is the actor inside the Mandalorian armor. So if you want to get your Star Wars on, or if you're like me and you're a John Wayne fan, that is John Wayne's grandson. So please, we would love to see you. Come out and meet some Hollywood royalty and some Star Wars royalty. Also, we want to give love to Comic Character of the Day, the Facebook group that we are all a part of, and it's the reason we are acquainted is because of that site founded by Archduke Kevy, and we want to thank him for that. I post cover of the day under the name Opie Taylor. Dan does a random panel of the day, does a question of the day. Sal contributes frequently, and Jamie is ever vigilant, always watching, make sure we do a good job on that site to keep you entertained.
That's great. It's a great site. And of course, last but not least, the part-time superhero, full-time connoisseur, J-Dub. Why don't you tell us about the Codex Station there, buddy?
Well, we got some stuff that we want to give you, don't we, Uncle Gary?
Oh, well, here at Codex Station, we have all the socials, and we'd like nothing better than to give them to you.
Yes, and that is the Codex Station. Type it in and any social, and you can find us there. You can also find us at thecodexstation.com. It's your one-stop shop for everything Codex. Get some merch, meet the team, let us know what you like and don't like, and find all of our socials on there so you have no reason to miss out on any of the content we have for you, because it's a lot.
We love it. All right, folks. What's that? Go ahead.
No,
go ahead. Did you finish? I didn't want to interrupt you.
I was trying to catch my breath from saying it.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right, folks. Thank you once again for joining us, and we'll see you all next week. I hope you guys have a 9.8 day.
We're going to be shooting next week.